So welcome to another video from theplayersaid.com. My name's Alexander.
And I'm Grant.
And today we're taking a kind of a first impressions look at On to Richmond 2 from Multiman Publishing. So this is the latest in the great campaigns of the American Civil War series.
GBACW.
No,
that's
GCACW. Which GBACW
is
that's GMT's tactical level system. Okay.
Sorry.
No.
Sorry.
So you'll hear probably a lot of different acronyms in this video. For that, and I apologize, because there's just so many that surround some of these games. So On to Richmond 2 is the newest in that series. It is a big two-player American Civil War massive kind of operational game.
Yeah.
This game is huge.
Mm-hmm.
It is also one of the biggest, if not the biggest, in the series, lengthwise.
Yeah, it's it can go to 112 turns.
Which is a crazy amount of turns.
We've played, what, 33? We're in 32.
Yeah, the black number is the turn. So yeah,
We're at 32. And the game can end at turn 91, we determined. We just can't remember how.
Yes.
But anyway.
But so this is a very long game. I started and set this up and played this with a friend of ours, Mike, who knows and loves this system. He was able to teach me. We played it for an entire day and got through about, I think we did about 25 turns. Then I did a couple solo, and then we've done a bunch together after I kind of taught you at least the offerings of how to
be honest, I know you were taught, but
yes.
I felt like I could grok the rules pretty quickly. I think I've got it down. There's a lot of detailed stuff here, though.
Yes.
A lot of little nuance and subtleties,
yes.
and there's a modifier for this, and your cannon numbers, and your tactical rating, and there's a lot.
There is a lot of bookkeeping in this game, and a lot of extras and stuff, which normally isn't my favorite thing.
Sure.
But if it's done well, or if the payoff is worth it, I'm in.
And I felt like it was worth it, right? It was kind of cool. I don't know where I put it, but, going down the combat chart and the artillery modifier in the tables, and it actually reminded me a little bit of that Gallipoli game.
Yep, absolutely.
We played.
I agree 100%.
Not quite as crunchy, because that was like down to quarter values, if I remember correctly, or 0.25s, and nothing like that. But this has a lot of those little details, and you're thinking about how can I get my commander who has a good tack rating, and he has good artillery with him. I need to get that guy in battle, because, man, I can really do some damage. And it was fun to figure that out.
Yeah, this game is not for everyone, in that it is quite complicated, especially in the advanced campaigns, which is what you want from the game, in my opinion. But also, like, On to Richmond 2 especially, has about 20 pages of extra scenario advanced rules on top of the regular 1.5
to make
rules.
It more crunchy.
Yeah, this one, and for reference, I've had a nose in Stonewall Jackson's Way 2. The campaign in this, 15 turns.
Yeah.
The campaign in this, 112.
Yeah.
The scenario rules in this is an extra 20 pages of pretty complex and exceptional rules. This one has, like, I think it's 2 or 3 pages of advanced rules in it. So to say that this is probably, I think there's one other campaign box that has 100 plus turns. This is one of the biggest, beefiest bad boys in the series. And if that's scary, there are other games in the series that aren't quite as intimidating.
More approachable.
Yes.
But like 15 turns.
But this was the 2023 title, and I was like, we're going to play it. We played the Namesakes campaign, the Peninsula On to Richmond campaign, and it was a really cool, like, learning experience and introduction to the series. It being our first game was like, after playing so much, I'm like, oh, I can see why people love this.
Yeah.
I'm not a massive American Civil War fan.
But it looks like you're becoming that.
Yeah, it does.
Which is interesting to me.
And I love this game because of the scale of it. Like, you'll have these, the corps and the regiments at such a high level that it's the operational, the supply concerns, rather than, here's my line of guys and my cannons. That's fine, but this is so interesting
Yeah.
And I just really, really liked what we were doing in this.
Yeah, the other thing I really enjoyed about it, and while I was annoyed by the amount of dice rolling,
Sure, fair.
the concept of a turn is not the same every turn.
Not necessarily, no.
Which I thought was very unique. It adds in some of the real chaos. It reminds me in a different way with dice of chit pull. Chit pull's kind of the same. You know you're going to pull 5 or 6 chits, but then you're going to start to get the chit cup down, and that end of turn chit can come out.
Right.
Or and that's kind of what happens here in some ways, but it's really tied to.
If you roll those snake eyes, the turn's done.
Yeah, the turn is done, and it's just interesting because you really have to think, okay, what do I really want to accomplish this turn? And then using the tools you have available to you, like leader activations, very important. And
Yeah.
I think I learned that after about 3 turns. I'm like, oh, okay, I get why that's so important now. But understanding how that works together, along with trying to figure out how the activation mechanic works that's going to rapidly change the turn. It's just, I thought it was really kind of cool. I still didn't like rolling the dice every single time.
Yeah,
That was a little bit annoying.
You roll for the initiative, you're going to then roll for a leader activation, then you're going to roll to see how much movement he gets. And so you will chuck so many dice in this game, it's kind of nuts.
But it worked.
Yeah.
Maybe, and I'm sitting here thinking about it in my mind, maybe I would want different colored dice and just kind of roll them all at once.
Yeah, that's probably a fair way to do it.
You know, say, hey, I'm gonna do whatever. I'm going to do a leader activation this turn. I'm going to go ahead and see, blah, blah, blah. You roll it all and it's over, and then you can get to the game.
Not knowing, I do think that a lot of that volume of dice rolling is kind of an artifact of the series. It's something been around for a while. And maybe if this was designed from the ground up today, it might look different.
Sure.
But
dice rolling's not bad.
No.
It's just when you do it so many. I mean, we rolled 30 to 40 times a game just for initiative.
For like a turn,
yeah, it's just... It's interesting.
You do
just unique. It's different. And that's what this is about, trying to learn the system.
Yes.
Understand what and why it is that way. And
yeah,
it was cool.
The other hallmarks of this particular campaign that I thought were fascinating is that 20 pages of extra rules includes so much granular stuff. Mm-hmm. Like you have these US river gunboats that can target certain things and give you bonuses. But then there's like counter battery fire. Mm-hmm. Then there's the USS Monitor and the CSA Virginia, or the CSS Virginia, I think.
CSS Virginia, yep.
Those, like the CSS Virginia, can sortie out of Norfolk to attack the USS Monitor, and if you destroy it, that's really good and worth a lot of VPs.
Yeah.
But then there's this whole off-map box with all these different holding boxes, and they're all linked.
This was pretty cool. I thought that was pretty unique.
And that's why I wanted to play the campaign. I'm like,
sure.
There's a bunch of different battle scenarios and like 1 or 2 day things. This game is not in the 1 or 2 day scenarios.
Right.
Straight up. That's how
they wouldn't have all this.
No.
Yeah.
You're going to use those to learn the battle mechanics. And the battle mechanics are fine, but to me, that's almost the least interesting part of the game. Mm-hmm. Like, there's still lots of cool tactical considerations, but
yeah,
the arc over the course of the long portion of the game where you're worried about positioning, moving, opening up new fronts, supply, reinforcements, all of that stuff is mouth-watering.
The end-around movement is also pretty cool. And on this scale, that works pretty well. But your comments about the scale and the way it feels, it's in the name, right?
Oh, yeah.
Great campaigns of the American Civil War. It's not just the battles, it's the campaign. So this is the Peninsular Campaign, and it's the whole thing, you know.
And there's multiple different setups. This is the historical one. You
Okay.
can invade in Gloucester. You can invade elsewhere. And it changes the setup. So you can, even within this campaign, you can do so many different things as well.
Sure.
But you get down to things like, why is it important to take Norfolk? Okay, it's worth a bunch of victory points. But also, you're going to destroy the CSS Virginia, which was patrolling the James River and the mouth of it. Now that's gone, you can now do amphibious movement on the James River that opens up those amphibious routes. It starts hurting supply down in the Isle of Wight and potentially Surrey and Sussex. So many things have so many different knock-on consequences.
Yeah.
That's stuff is really interesting to kind of play around with and like, oh, whoops, I gave up this hex too easily.
Yeah.
Because this hex down here was a county seat, and I didn't put enough guys in there, which means you cut my supply from that county by occupying it quicker than I needed to. So I have to run away faster. And over the course of 100+ turns, that stuff tells a really great story over a campaign. But yeah, you know, we played effectively kind of half a campaign of this. I will continue to have the setup for a while longer, play some more solo stuff, see what I can do with it. But really, it just kind of wets my whistle for more in this series.
Yeah, yeah. No, I mean, just playing for the couple hours we played tonight and the handful of turns, I enjoyed what we did, and I'm looking forward to exploring.
Yes.
You know, maybe Stonewall Jackson's Way 2 and some of the other entries.
And based on how much we did in one day with me and Mike, it would be a long day, but you could play Stonewall Jackson's Way in a single day.
Probably 5 hours.
Yeah. On to Richmond 2, you're not going to do that. This is at least a 3-day of like 3 full dedicated days, probably more than that.
Yeah.
That's just the reality of the length of this particular campaign. Now, again, there's smaller scenarios, so if you just want to do bits and pieces, you can do that.
Now, you mentioned the bookkeeping. I know Mike provided you with all of this extra off-map,
Yes.
you know, tracking of the exhaustion levels for the different formations. And you also had that battle.
Yeah, we have combat worksheets.
Were these on BGG? You know?
If I'm pretty sure they are.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure these are available. The On to Richmond 2 holding boxes are not on BGG.
Okay.
I think Craig made these.
Oh, okay.
So we're going to get them uploaded soon because
Sure. Very nice.
all of these off-map holding boxes, they hold your fatigue, your manpower levels, any additional artillery assets you might have. What that does is it reduces the clutter on the board.
Yeah.
Because you add fatigue every time you do anything.
Normally, you'd have to put that fatigue marker on top.
And it goes underneath.
Yeah, it's nice
But
to
if you've
have
got a
that
stack
here.
of units and you've got to keep moving them, flipping them, it'll be an absolute nightmare to play.
Sure.
Which is why these were created.
Well, and isn't that one of the problems with all of these large hex and counter war games that we've played over the years? Some of them just have a lot of counter clutter. And it's just the way it is.
And you need that because that's the detail of the game.
Sure.
But
this is tracked off.
it's decent.
Yeah, it's nice.
That's why this is also very popular on Vassal, because you don't
Right.
have any of that. All of your fatigue and stuff is tracked on the counter because they've digitally added extra numbers on the counters. And I'm like, that's pretty smart.
Yeah.
But I have loved what I've experienced of this.
I would say I've loved it too. I've enjoyed it significantly.
I will be buying more of these over the course of time. Like, this is kind of up there with a series that they release, one every couple of years. I will buy that probably without looking almost.
Got it.
Because they're so rich. And, even if it's the shorter ones, 10, 15, 20 turns, that's way more manageable.
Sure.
That's a big long day of gaming, but I know that I can do that. The big 100 turn ones, maybe that's a bit excessive.
How did the components compare in these to the originals? Do you have any idea? Because this is the second editions, basically.
Yes, yeah. I think the maps are the same.
Okay.
And I think the counters are similar.
Okay.
Looks-wise. I know there was either 1 or 2 volumes that they did where they changed the look of the counters.
And people got upset. Yeah.
They were mad.
Well, you get used to seeing the counter the way it is and knowing where the information is.
And they had changed the iconography on a counter and people lost their mind, so they've reverted back to kind of the traditional. But I think...
No, wargamers having opinions? What?
But I think the additions that they've put in here is there's a whole extra campaign in here and more scenarios. They've just added more and more and more into this over the first editions.
Yeah.
The play aids, you need your reading glasses and a
they're pretty small.
microscope at times. It's very dense. The rules are very dense. It's very small print. This isn't a series, in my opinion, that you just lightly dabble in.
Yeah.
This is a game that you're going to play, and either you're going to love it and then dedicate your time to it, or you decide maybe that's not for me, and then that's kind of it, because it is a lot of rules, it's a lot of work, and it's a lot of time commitment to do some of these bigger campaigns as well.
Well, I'm upset because I was sick the day that you guys did this. We played Imperium Romanum the night before, and then you guys ended up ditching that and playing this, and I'm like, oh, but I felt terrible.
And Imperium Romana was a level of bookkeeping that I did not enjoy.
Well,
I felt the payoff wasn't there compared to what I like in this.
That's actually a very apt statement, because now that I played this, I'm like, okay, I see the similarities. This is much more playable.
Well, I think about even Space Empires 4X, famously a ton of bookkeeping, but the payoff for the bookkeeping is worth it to me.
Yeah.
Because that's enjoyable.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I would give this 2 thumbs up. I really enjoyed it. I can't wait to play maybe Stonewall Jackson's 2 and Way 2 and others in the series.
Yes.
So,
yeah.
Very nice.
I had a blast with it. One thing to show off is that for Stonewall Jackson's Way 2, I've got these really nice counter trays from Cube for Me. So we're very grateful for that. That was really awesome of them. But they also really have a set for On to Richmond 2, which when I put this away, they will go into these. They all fit perfectly, and this is nice and slim. These are really, really tight, and that will fit right in the box with a no lift lid. So I'm pretty pumped for those.
Yeah.
Cube for Me, they do wonderful war game sets of trays, so check those out as well if that's something you're interested in. But
yeah,
I
like
had
this.
an excellent time playing this.
Me too.
Not a game for the faint of heart, but well worth the investment if this would be something you think you might like or enjoy.
Yeah. You know what you ought to do? As you play this solitaire, you should just turn the camera on, put it above you, and just...
Yeah, I probably will.
Just do a couple, 3-4 turns, and that'd be an hour-and-a-half to 2 hour video, and people would love it.
And there's also a lot of content about this game out there.
Got it.
Patrick's tactics and tutorials.
He plays it a lot.
He plays this a lot. Has a ton of... It's all on Vassal, and so you can see why they've made the changes they did on the digital implementation, which is really cool. But he has like a ton of learning and step-by-step guides and how-tos as well. If you want to learn the system or see if you might like it, there's a lot out there. But yeah, I might do that just so you can see the flow of the turn, all the dice rolling, and what that looks
I'm not
like.
sure you need to do a ton, but a turn or two to better understand what we were talking about with the initiative dice and the command activation check and the movement roll check, and there's a lot of those checks. So
yes,
that'd be fun. Sometimes these things are intimidating because they're so big.
Well, and I'll also probably show a lot of the different play aids and different
like these formation
tiddlywinks and counters that we've got to help the game be a bit more easy to read and to pass, because this is very complex.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've had a wonderful time playing this so far. I will play more of it. I will play more in this series, and I want to sit down with you and do some of these other games too.
Yeah, absolutely.
But on to Richmond 2 from MMP. Check this out if this is something that you're interested in, but appreciate you very much for tuning in. I've been Alexander from theplayersaid.com.
And I'm Grant.